Hello everyone. My name is Michelle Yasuda, and I want to welcome you to our Foundation for Conscious Living's Big Leap Home community. And I am the program director for the online programs that we have. And these programs are here to support individuals, organizations, and communities in generating agency, connection, and creativity on our shared planet. And I'm super excited to have Sasha here joining us tonight, and I'll be turning the call over shortly. I'm just going to go over a few logistics. So the first thing I want to do is let you all know that we have an online platform, if you have not joined it, that is the gathering space for the Hendricks community. And it's a space where you're going to hear about the latest events that we have. You're going to hear about these wonderful 1 hour classes that we do a few times a month. And we also post daily practices that are super helpful and amazing. So you can join that for free, and I will put the information for that in the chat so that you can do that. And let's see, anything else? I think that that's all the logistics for tonight, actually. I want to get into the fun of why you're here. So, in our, we have a tradition. We've been having these Big Leap Bridge calls for, I want to say we're going on our fifth year or something like that, 5 or 6 years. And we have a tradition of the facilitator of us giving an appreciation for the facilitator as a way of handing the call off. So we really value appreciation in the Hendricks world, and we like to demonstrate that. So, Sasha, I've gotten to know you through the trainings here, and as you got certified as a Big Leap coach. And something I really appreciate about you is it's like I find you to be a mix of this very strong backbone of integrity. Like, here I am, and this is me, and I can feel that. I can feel like your structure, as well as a really lighthearted, fun, kind of almost like mischievous energy that I get from you. I might be totally making that up, but that's something that I feel. And so I'm really excited, and I really appreciate you being willing to come in and do one of these classes for us. So I'm going to turn the call over to you, and I'm excited to see what we're going to learn tonight.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Michelle. And that was so beautiful. I felt very well represented by backbone of integrity and also lighthearted mischief. I do think that's true, and a little bit of rebel, but also kind of in the structure. So anyway, I'm very happy to be here tonight. And I think we have a mix of people who are here. I'm just kind of representing visually looking at you all. And Michelle, is it okay? I have this in the gallery view so I can see people. That's okay. Okay, great. People from Tango, people from my newsletter list, people from the Hendricks world. I think it would be fun if you want to put in the chat your name, where you're calling in from, zooming in from, and how you got here. How did you learn about this event? Just to see, that would be fun. And if you want to add one more thing, one thing you would love to get out of tonight, that might be an interesting little pulse to see what would you like to get out of. It could be called Listening to Your Body at Work or Embodied Decision Making in Business. I've had two titles for this workshop. It kind of depends on how you're coming at it. But basically, we're going to be focusing on listening to our bodies in the worlds of work and business and why that might be interesting to do. Okay, so let's see what's in the chat. Okay, Michelle. Okay, so we're waiting for our little answers to come in. So I do have a fancy presentation that I used to make this presentation in person. So we're going to use that. We're going to kind of go in and out of different modes. So while you're doing that fun stuff in the chat, we're going to begin here. Oh my God, we can't do it all at the same time. No. Because the first thing we're going to do actually is we're going to live a principle that is taught by the Hendricks, by Gay and Katie Hendricks. And I want to say too, by way of appreciation, Michelle, I'm so appreciating being here and teaching a class and being part of the Hendricks community, because it was my very first coach who was instrumental in me getting on this journey of listening to my body to make a lot of decisions 15, 16 years ago, who was a huge fan and primary person who then spread the Hendricks work through her work in Silicon Valley, Diana Chapman. And so she told me to study with the Hendricks 15 years ago. And I didn't actually come and do it until 3 years ago. I'd been working as a coach, having trained somewhere else for over a decade. And then during the pandemic, I said, I finally have to do that. I really need to be with the Hendricks. And that journey began, and it was just incredible. And they so provided language for a lot of things I had sort of been playing with myself ever since I said, I'm going to get out of my head and into my body and go to South America. And lots of other things came. But so now to come full circle to be in the Hendricks community and sharing their tools with you, it makes me really happy. So I just want to appreciate that moment. Okay, so we're going to do something right now just to practice body intelligence. So one of the most important pieces of work I've gotten from Katie Hendricks is her body of work around fear. And so basically the idea is we're always absorbing fear and our bodies are becoming tense with it. And there are different kinds of fear and different kinds of fear melters, which are movements that have been designed to help us free ourselves from fear. So we're going to do about a minute of wiggling just to have the experience of wiggling. And so what we have to do is very simple. Just get up and start to wiggle all parts of your body that you could possibly imagine wiggling. So it could be your elbows or your ankles or your butt or your earlobes, or super open to exploring any part of your body that could possibly wiggle. And you can do this with music. You can do it not with music. And the prescription is to wiggle for 2 minutes to really shift your mental and emotional state. It's a little bit of exercise. Ah. Oh, I love seeing everyone wiggle. Oh my goodness. So good. Michelle is a really good wiggler. There are videos of her wiggling on YouTube. So, great. So everybody can keep wiggling if you want. I'm just going to introduce myself to you. So actually, I'm going to look in the chat and see where people are coming from. Karen, following Quirky Alone, Dawn from Rhode Island. Okay, Tracy from New Zealand, Alice, fellow Hendricks coach, Megan, invited by Karen. Okay, awesome. Catherine says, this feels really good. Why have I not done this before? That is a lot of the beauty of wiggling. Why have I not done this before? It's so simple. I have to say, I've taught workshops to executive women, and some of their favorite stuff is about wiggling. So it is really amazing how powerful just wiggling can be. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to just give you all a little introduction to me, because some of you who are here know me and some of you don't know me yet. So my name is Sasha. I've been a life and leadership coach for 12 years. I grew up in New England. Then I spent almost 20 years in the Bay Area, San Francisco. Then I lived in Argentina because of my love for tango. And now I live back at home in Rhode Island. In my work, I help people get clear and confident about what they really want. And I've been doing that since 2012. I've always been a writer, and I've written 2 books. I'm at work on my 3rd. And I've also always been an entrepreneur. So part of my time working in San Francisco involved a detour into Silicon Valley when I co-founded a small social media and social networking company back in 2008, and did this whole Silicon Valley thing where I really got lost in all of that and basically felt this strong sense that I had to get out of my head and into my body when everything was sort of spiraling downward when I was around 35. And so I did it, and I went to Brazil, and I wound up spending a whole year traveling alone in South America. That was the year before I started training as a coach, but in a way, I was sort of training all of this listening to the body stuff in my own life, and then came back training coaching and wound up helping others with this sort of somatic body-based approach. Okay. So here's a few highlights of my life. This is the Quirky Alone book, which some of you here are readers of. For others, it's a book. It's a word that I coined to describe people who don't want to settle for less than what they really want in a relationship. So a lot of people felt validated and inspired by it, and there's been a lot of Quirky Alone stuff ever since. And this is a picture of me dancing tango after I got lost in Silicon Valley and ran away to Brazil. One thing led me to Colombia, one thing from Colombia led me to Argentina. And along the way, I discovered tango and fell in love with it. And it utterly changed my life. And, I lived in Argentina for 6 years, and almost every part of my life is touched by tango, including my coaching and my writing. And then finally, we have Turned on Living. This is sort of my philosophy of pleasure that I use in my coaching. And it's basically about the importance of tapping into joy and pleasure and our native sexual energy as women to create the lives that we really want and develop confidence and all kinds of good stuff. So this is sort of, in a way, my philosophy and approach. So, okay, what are we going to do tonight? We are going to take this piece of listening to the body and just kind of experience it from different angles. I'm going to be guiding you in some exercises that will allow you to connect with your body and explore. We're going to look at how we make decisions and possibly reinvent that. We're going to look at the power of body intelligence and body-mind connection in your life and work. Build your body intelligence from wherever it is right now, because it's something that can always be developed, and scratch the surface of why body intelligence is important with tons of research. It's a hot topic in neuroscience and psychology. So I found it fascinating that something I was guiding my life by intuition 15 years ago turns out to have been a hot topic among academics this whole time. So in the last 5 years, I've really become much more aware of all that research, and I love it. It's really validating to read. And, the Hendricks too have been doing this work for so long, and science is beginning to validate a lot of this kind of body-based thinking. People, who is this for? People who are heady and want to get out of their heads a bit. People who want to make bold, inspired, courageous decisions. My philosophy is that listening to the body by its nature is going to make you more courageous, because you're going to hear things that you might not hear or pay attention to otherwise. Anyone who's curious about body intelligence and what that means. And this is something I've learned from sharing this work. Anyone who wants to strengthen boundaries with work, reduce burnout, and build their life force energy. This has come up as such a strong theme when we talk about listening to the body at work. And anyone who wants a little magic, because I do believe that listening to your body will lead you to places that you would not have expected, and it can be kind of magical. Okay. So here's one that I think is an interesting question just for each of us to consider. We're taught to think with our minds and not our bodies. So like, even just thinking about your schooling and how you were raised. I mean, did anyone ever tell you to think with your body? I want to see all the faces. Michelle's nodding. No, it's really interesting. It's like something that we're never told to do. I'm going to go back there because I do like that stuff that is there. Come back. Um, so yeah, we're not taught to think with our bodies. We're thought to think with our minds. So what is the problem with that? I mean, just to sort of, I had a thesis about why that's a problem up on that slide, but I'm curious, what is the problem with just thinking with our minds? Does anyone have a clue and want to make a guess?
I think the word guess is the perfect word for it, because it's a lot more guesswork if you're just using the brain. I think if you use your, body intelligence, there's a lot more that you can really ground in terms of something. And that's, I think, invaluable.
Mm.
So
Spoken by a person who knows something about her body intelligence.
just from the experience of the before and after effect of reattaching yourself to the body,
Mm.
and actually coming into your body, huge difference. Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah. I'm saying that for my own situation, when I think from my head, it's usually based on fear, because of lots of limited beliefs that's holding me back, and lots of concerns. So much about worry about making the wrong decisions.
Mm.
Yeah. And body intelligence, which I try to tap into to learn more about, is more holistic. Yeah, it gives a bigger picture.
Beautiful. There's commonalities with what you said and Alice said too. It's almost bigger picture and less of a guess. So what I had written on that slide, I think all of these things are true, was that it often leads us to not take action if we only think with our minds, that we get stuck in analysis paralysis about many things, and the mind has this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, and it's this, back and forth, and then we stay, which is related to what you said, Dawn, about fear. And that the body can be a way of cutting through that, which also sounds connected to what you said, Alice, about a fuller answer and confidence to act, maybe. So, all right, I want to come back here, and my computer is doing something funny, so bear with me for a second. Okay, here it is. Okay. So another reason that it is inaccurate is basically what Alice said here, that technically our body has intelligence, but we can't even state all of it. It's often unconscious intelligence that can't be put into words, but our body also holds knowledge. So this is actually an anecdote that comes from a book that Hendricks recommended in one of the classes that I found to be an absolutely incredible book. I would say if you're interested in this topic, I would absolutely recommend you get this book. I use it in my group coaching program. Everyone loves it. Every chapter is fascinating. It's about thinking, the power of thinking outside the brain. So she talks about thinking with movement and thinking with the body. And so one of the anecdotes that opens up the book is about research done on traders on financial markets in the UK. And basically, they found that the people who made the most money on the trading floor were not the most educated, and they were not the most analytical. They weren't looking at all these financial reports. They were able to listen to their bodies and move almost like animals to the market, and they had the best returns. So this guy, John Coates, he worked in financial markets and became fascinated by all of this, and then became an academic who studied it. So he says, good judgment may require the ability to listen carefully to feedback from the body. And so this is from his book, The Hour Between Dog and Wolf. And then this is the book. And so this is another one that I thought was really interesting. Those who thrived in markets were not necessarily people with greater education or intellect, but were people with greater sensitivity to their interoceptive signals. So we're going to talk a little bit about interoception tonight. Is basically the ability to sense inside our bodies. So when neuroscientists are studying all of this, the area of study is interoception. Okay, so we're going to do a little playing right now with the idea of having a question and using sensitivity to our bodies to guide it. So just for fun. And I loved something that Katie would say in the classes when I first began was, are you willing to have fun tonight? I just loved that so much. So we're just playing, basically. That's what we're doing. So everybody in for just having fun and playing around. Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm going to share a story about a client who I use this method with through dialogue. And then we're going to ask the question of ourselves. So in the Hendricks world and in Diana's world too, they talk about the whole body, no, yes, and maybe. And as a way of tuning into information from our bodies about a question in our lives. So I've used this with clients many times, and I just always remember this woman's story the most. So we had gone through a lot of transformation in her life, that she had gone from being married in a long marriage that wasn't alive and wanted, to separating, divorcing, considering moving across the country. Just tons and tons of transformation was happening very quickly. And then there was this other new opportunity, a new job that in a different industry, and she had her own business. So it was a pretty big jump. So I just remember this dialogue that we had where she was checking in with how being in this new job felt in her body as she got to know the people, and as she got to know that people would continue to check on it. And she just had this feeling of warmth in her belly about this opportunity, even though it was so different from what she'd been doing. And that warmth was, it was the bridge to the yes. And you know, all of the work that we had done in her body connection made her feel more confident in making such a jump. So all of this, I mean, I'm not sure. I wonder even to ask, like, how many of you do these things? Like, do you have any type of practice of posing questions to your body? Michelle, yes. Karen, yes. Alice, yes. And I think Tracy, yes. I think I saw this. Okay. So we'll just play with this right now. Some people do this already, some people have not, and I'm going to guide it, and we're just going to have fun with it. So I want to just ask you to, first of all, get in a good, comfortable position for you, and just relax the limbs a little bit. And now, with eyes open still, just think of some question in your life that has been with you. Maybe not the biggest question or the smallest question, but some question. You know, really doesn't matter. Whatever you intuitively go to as your question. So everybody has something. Now I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes, and we're just going to do a little bit of deep breathing. And I'm going to count just to get us into a nice slow or paced breath. So beginning a breath down in your pelvis, and then inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, and inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go one more time, inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. So just continuing to breathe at your own pace and whatever feels good in your body. And then just allowing that question to come back into your awareness and let it settle into your body, and just notice with the same slowness we've been breathing with, just noticing what sensations you have in your body as you consider that question. So just taking a few more deep breaths. And then when you feel ready, opening your eyes and coming back to the room. So I'm wondering if anyone would be open to sharing their experience, the question, what you sensed.
I'll share.
Great.
Because I feel like I could use some guidance on this anyway. First of all, I just want to say the questions that have been weighing on me seem so massive that I had to dig to find something that was like a little bit lighter. So I'm glad I found something. And the question was, there's a volunteer gig that I do every once in a while, like one weekend a month. And I was just asking, should I offer to do this? Well, it's like 4 hours on a Saturday. Should I offer to do this for October? And even before we kind of dropped in, I was like, no. And then I was looking and I noticed that like the body is pretty much going, I'm not up for that. And right behind it is also some body sensation, maybe that fear that we're talking about, kind of a little higher up in the chest. That's like, but. So that's like the story of my life right now, is really struggling to make decisions. And even this one. Guide me, Sasha.
Well, I want to just refresh. You sensed the fear here, and what was it before then?
Was like the immediate no, like before even really looking
Oh,
at
before you even.
I was like,
and how was the no expressed?
just kind of felt it a little bit more grounded, a little more down in my belly, just like no. And even just in fatigue, like, no, not up for that.
Mm.
And it was kind of like then in the chest was like, but if you don't, something, maybe you should, which is really a little more mind stuff.
Yeah, I think it kind of reveals as you're talking about it that, I mean, I don't think that I can know the answer to this. And it's all this listening to the body stuff is such a dance that we play with ourselves, I think with greater confidence as we go along. But what I did get was that there was a no that was felt in your abdomen as a really clear no. And then it was almost like your mind was
Yes. Yeah.
intervening here with second guessing.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that's been interesting for me with all this work is sort of registering, being a sort of scientist of my own experience and registering those sensations and playing with it over time. What do you get from all that?
Well, as I kind of reflect on these massive feeling decisions that I've been chewing on, and as I'm listening to you share, like previous to recently in my life, I felt I could really listen to myself clearly. And it's just been this recent phase where I just cannot hear myself. So, what I'm getting from what you were just saying is just the opportunity to slow myself down a bit, just slow it down a bit. And I love how you said kind of getting to know the different sensations. So, if I distinguish, if I'm grounded in this, listen to that. If it's this kind of fluttery, fearish thing, maybe, take a little slowing down with that too and check, is that really just this, pretending it's in my body? So just what I'm getting is like just making some space, as Megan, who we play together, we're always talking about making space, just making some space and slowing it down, just to give myself a chance to get to know what are my current body sensations. Maybe there's something in this phase of my life that it's just different from how it's been in the past. So just slowing it down and getting to know those different bits so that I can use them to translate. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think in reality, for most people, it's not just one lightning bolt. It's sort of like accumulating evidence. Catherine, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, I was wondering, just in terms of the way your body feels, like for me, I've had a lot of anxiety over the past year about major life decisions. So I was trying to think of something calmer, but I couldn't. But I was wondering, when for me, in terms of, I sort of already know what the decision is, but when I feel like it's a no, my head feels separated from my body. Is that, I mean, everyone always, I feel like it's always in your chest. Is that for me, it's never been that way. It's always been like towards the lower part of my body, but I feel like my brain is completely separate when it's something I shouldn't do. And when it's something I should do, I feel like this joy that floods up from the bottom, like from my lower half up to my head. Like it's very like subtle. I don't know. I mean, is it something that maybe I'm not, I don't want to say doing it right, but, or am I not listening? Or because I never, when it's a no, or I don't know, is it distinguishing, is it fear that's making me feel that way? Or is that my body saying, no, this is not a right choice? Or, I mean, like my head feels really like separated from my body. Has anyone ever felt like that? I guess is my question.
Well, I don't think I can answer. I'm sure someone has felt like that, because I think all of this is so personal. And so I don't think there's any right or wrong way. It's all, slowing down would be a principle. There may be principles, but I think all of this is ultimately so personal. So what I got from you that I thought was interesting was joy coming up and no going down. I thought that was a really interesting thing to notice. Okay. So are there any other burning shares about this? I think this is just an incredibly interesting topic that we don't usually get to talk about. But I'm going to go forward in the slides because we can keep talking about this. So let me do that. Okay, here we go. Okay, so in the scientific language, they call this a somatic rudder. So these are different things that we could be feeling for in our bodies: a shiver, a sigh, a quickening of the breath, tensing of the muscles, relaxing of the muscles. Heat was inherent in my client's story. So this one I think is great. This is drawn from the Hendricks body intelligence assessment checklist. There are many more, but these are some ones I pulled out. I know what yes and no feel like in my body. Again, just something to be continually exploring. I recognize the indicators of stress in my body. I regularly notice physical sensations and signals in my body. When I am walking, I notice the sensations of my body moving. My verbal and nonverbal expressions closely match my inner experience. Any thoughts on any of these?
This is Karen again. I'll just say that I feel where I'm kind of most out of alignment is that last one. I don't know if that's true, but I'm getting a little like that may be the place to pay attention, and maybe part of why I'm feeling challenged to be making decisions, if there's something a little out of alignment with the way I'm presenting
Mm.
with what's actually going on inside. So I'm excited by that phrase and curious to take it with me.
So I presented this workshop in a more corporate atmosphere a couple months ago, and this one, the people got really into, the one you mentioned, because it was almost like the corporate workplace trains you to have your expressions not match. So they were like, wow, they should match. It was like very like eye-opening, that there might be a culture of the opposite. Okay, so this is sort of a summary of why all of this is important, according to, the current research. People make better decisions with interoceptive awareness, according to neuroscience, psychology, and business research. People with more acute body intelligence also have better mental health and higher levels of well-being. And this is my personal belief, listening to our bodies helps us make more courageous, aligned decisions, and it draws on all of our knowledge beyond what we can articulate. So this is just if you want to Google for this, I love this story in The Guardian, and it just made me happy that interoception as of 2021 was, really making itself known to people. It's been exciting to see it grow. So yeah, this is the technical term for it. It's the inner state, awareness of the inner state of the body, a hot topic, a part of mind-body connection, an ability that some people naturally have and some people do not. So this is a great story in the Extended Mind book. They're doing research on interoception at a museum, and a married couple walks by, and they're like elderly. They've been together for 50 years or something like that. And they're asking about the ability to detect their own heartbeat. That's what the research is. And the husband's like, of course I know, like how fast my heartbeat beats. And the wife is like, what are you talking about? Like, how could you ever know that? So basically they'd been married, for decades and didn't realize they had a totally different experience of sensing their bodies. Like for him, that was, of course, everyone knows how their heart is beating and how often. And she had no awareness. So at the same time as people have different amounts of it to start with, you can train it through many different forms, like the exercise that we did tonight. Okay, so here's another interesting question. Can you think of a time when you made a life or business decision based on a gut bodily instinct? Anybody want to share quickly? Like, it's always interesting to hear these things.
I will share because it was fairly recent. So I had been feeling like my corporate job was not right. I didn't know what to do, if I should. I've always left a job with the security of having another job lined up. But this was becoming really detrimental to my health. And it was the morning of the day I was planning on turning in my notice. And like I had typed it up, have nothing lined up. And it was maybe an hour or two before I walked in and gave my notice. I just kind of dropped into my body. Karen and I were on a Zoom and just kind of moving into my body, getting out of my head because I was just like foggy. Like, do I need to, stay the whole day and do this really important meeting or all of this other stuff? There were just a lot of swirling questions in my mind. And then, it was just, I can't remember if we did like an exercise or if we just kind of like dropped into the body, but it was almost immediate. And I was like nope, I'm walking in and giving my notice and I'm done because I was making a decision for my health, knowing that I was just another number to them, you know. But it was a risk because my whole life I've been taught about security and all of these things that we're taught to think a certain way. And it was a risk. But yeah, I just walked out with no notice pretty quickly. So
Wow, what a story. That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really amazing story. And you said something about your body was telling you to leave a place where you're being treated as a number. And I've noticed a lot of stories come up like this around this topic, that the body is very valuable for recognizing when it's time to leave. And it also reminded me of the endogenous and exogenous concepts that Katie teaches, that basically living exogenously, this is right, Michelle, is according to society's expectations, like what you were saying, you were taught to value security and just stay. And living endogenously is in tune with your own actual desires or what you want. So interesting connection with the body there, that it helps to live endogenously. I never like put that together. Okay, so I'm gonna, let's see, here we are. Are you all seeing the slides right now? No, I don't think so.
Nope.
There's something funny with my computer that's happened and I need to get it fixed. So it's created a little awkwardness. I'm sorry about that, but I think it's okay. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to do this again just to have a little bit more fun. So, yeah, just think of some decision that you are making in your business, work, or life right now. And when you think about that issue now, what physical sensations do you experience? So this one is just more kind of right into it. Okay. So this one will be a short one. So wondering if anyone has something they would like to share from that dipping in. Yeah, Tracy. Oh no.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Now we hear you and see you.
Oh,
Huh.
now we can't hear you.
Now we can't hear you. Are you talking? I'm going to ask to unmute you. You wanted to share, right, Tracy?
How about now?
Now we hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
But I've lost video, is it?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I'm not sure what I've done there. Technology is now I'm noticing the tension in my jaw coming.
Yeah, you're having a whole new experience.
Having a whole other experience. But yeah, was having that, yeah, thinking about like dropping into my body, what it is, like my jaw started to tighten as I was thinking about a schedule that was coming up, and like almost like a sensation, like a slow punch into my guts. And I was noticing like I wanted to like just leave the room, was all the sensations that were happening.
Wow. Leave the room, this room, or?
Yeah, not leaving like my physical space, like the anticipating the imagined future of what's coming up. Like I need to get moving, I need to get going. And noticing I just wanted to block the thoughts, and stay exactly where I am, but ignoring.
Very revealing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, in some way, it's like all of this is about occupying our bodies and inhabiting them. And then you're describing like, oh my God, I want to get out of here, or like this is me. Like I don't know, I don't want to be in the room. I don't want to be in myself. Hmm. Anybody else? Thank you for sharing that. I really value each person sharing. I think it's really interesting to be able to share these things. Okay, so here we go, back on our adventure. So this is a really great quote that I find just to be one that's very interesting to leave it around in your life, to come back to it. So this this is not Henry James, this is William James. I wrote the wrong James person. But anyway, a very big philosopher and psychologist who wrote in this Journal of Mind in 1884, common sense says we lose our fortune, are sorry and weep. We meet a bear, are frightened and run. We are insulted by a rival and are angry and strike. This order of sequence is incorrect. And he ultimately writes, it would be more accurate to say we feel sorry because we cry, angry because we strike, afraid because we tremble. So in some way, he was really anticipating the research that we have now, that we think it's all about our brains telling our bodies what to do, but it's just as often that our physical experience is guiding our emotions and our thoughts. And so this importance of the body and how it's so much contributing to how we are, and that's why we started with wiggling in the beginning, is like really revolutionary, because we're taught that it's all just from here down, but it's also here up. Does anyone have any responses to this quote? I always found this very fascinating.
We couldn't see the quote, but we heard you
Oh, you
heard
heard
you
reading.
say it.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't come up. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that quote, and I don't know if it was in the extended mind or whether it was somewhere else, but I feel like is that where it
Yeah,
got?
she
Yeah,
references that, yes.
I thought so. Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's fascinating. I've always thought it was fascinating to think about how I can generate a physical sensation in my body, or something like my cheeks going red because I have an embarrassed thought or whatever that might be. That's always been fascinating to me, to think of the simple ways that happens that we all accept. Like, oh, I get embarrassed, my cheeks might get red, or I get flushed on my shoulders, or whatever it might be. But then the thought that we can be listening to our body, and that we could be in, back and forth, have this experience of our body, people resist. So I think it's just really a beautiful thing that we're starting to recognize that there's a whole bunch going on. And yeah, so anyway, that was maybe a jumbled bunch of thoughts, but that's what came up for me.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of a jumble because it's the body and mind all like this. And when I presented this in another place, there was a man from Japan who presented that in some languages, this is just more understood, that body and mind are totally intertwined. Okay. So what, are you seeing the slide now? You're
We're
not.
seeing like a black stripe and nothing, and then a white stripe. It's like changing, and then there's a little stripe on top of it. It's very strange.
How about now?
Nope. We see
Oh,
your mouse. It's
this
almost
is
like you're in a different mode or something.
okay. Well, I think we're just going to,
Hmm.
yeah, I really don't know why, but so you see me.
Well, it's sitting, you're sharing a screen, but what we're seeing is literally a stripe of white or a stripe of black or whatever that might be. That's what I'm seeing. Is everyone seeing that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're not
Okay.
seeing the one you think we're seeing, but it's just,
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna just read through what's here, and then we'll just know what we got, and then we'll keep talking, and we can just be without the slides. So the classic interoceptive question is, can you identify when your heart beats without your hand on your heart or feeling your pulse? So like what the guy in the museum was really good at, this is what the scientists measure. And also you should not think you have terrible or no interoception. If you can't, you might feel things in other parts of your body. It really just is so personal, and we can develop our interoception. And the benefits, I mean, I found this so validating in a way that this is such a superpower. Make sounder decisions, respond with more resilience to challenges and setbacks. These are benefits of developing interoception. Savoring intense emotions while more skillfully managing them, and connecting to others with more sensitivity and insight. And so the takeaway is that anyone whose job requires really connecting with people deeply, interoception is an incredibly important skill, because you can understand other people better because you can sense it in your own body as a sort of mirroring. So it all made sense to me why I do the work I do, because in dancing tango is so much this of like connection and mirroring. Okay. And on the other side, denying our own body's reactions is a way of gaslighting ourselves. So I think we've all felt something like that, like feeling something but not acting on it, feeling that you're a no but saying yes. And then just the idea that listening to the body is really a way of building courage and taking up space. Okay. So yeah, this is the part where I'm just inviting you to join my newsletter if you haven't already, because I love having these events of connection. Also, my literary agent says we must gain new subscribers to fill my memoir, so it's a big mission. And I'm sure you're going to love being on the newsletter too. So I'm going to put that URL here, right here. And the other thing I would say, and then I think after this we could do questions, is that if anyone wants to work in this way with the body and coaching, it's what I love to do most when people have this desire to be attuned to their bodies and making decisions. And there's so many interesting and revealing ways of doing this, and what we can do. Where you can go in a small workshop like this is, a step, and then like being in a container and really listening, a lot can happen. So if that is of interest, you can go here and just put your email address in and then be guided through the process. And yeah, of course, I would love to hear from anyone who's here if they feel called, because it's like a special place. So yeah, I think with the rest of the time, maybe we can have questions and open conversation about this topic.
I have a question for you. How do you, what do you do if you feel disconnected from your, like, let's say you ask your question of yourself, of whatever it is that you're bringing up, and you get kind of a mixed read of what's happening? What's your go-to for what to do with that? I'm curious.
Can you tell me what you mean by a mixed read?
Oh, so yeah, like instead of there being this like really clear yes or no, there's sort of like a mixture of feelings, maybe different sensations that are kind of yeah, just unclear, an unclear something or other. So I'm just curious if you have that happen, if you experience that.
Yeah, I think, of course, that in real life, when we get into this kind of relationship with ourselves, there's this decoding. So first of all, I think this is so normal. And like, I remember when Diana did an interview with Tim Ferriss, there was a lot of attention on like how to know your whole body, yes or no. There was a lot of talk about the maybe. I think my go-to is rest. like not saying yes and trying to find some way to rest and keep listening. And in my formula of turned on living, rest has to come before pleasure. And like when I'm detecting, is it a yes? I'm trying to find some feeling of pleasure subtly or energy,
Yeah.
as opposed to deadness.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Beautiful.
Such a good question.
I have a question, which was similar to Michelle. Well, my struggle is I always feel very disconnected from my body. So whenever I do this kind of exercise, my body kind of just shut down and will not reveal any information to me. Or I should say that I could not feel different sensation. It has always been like this way. So I don't know if you have any advices on that.
So you're saying when you sit down to do this type of practice, you don't notice any sensations, or what exactly happens in your experience?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that what I would suggest trying is really putting a lot of awareness in your breath and using that as the way of playing with, what happens? I mean, I wonder, like, have you ever done that kind of energetic awareness of your breath as it's moving?
I'm not sure exactly. When I do like a breathing as exercise or as like a warming up to meditate, yeah, I can be aware of how I breathe, but to what degree, I'm not clear.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can explain all of it now, and I could explain it to you later. I'd be happy to do that, but I'm imagining some kind of visualization practice with your breath. And I think, and ultimately the breath is really the best tool we have to feel. So that would be my guess. I think that, that's what I would look at. But thank you for saying that. I mean, it sounds like you want to feel more.
Yes.
I think it has a lot to do with relaxing and the breath.
I'm just wondering, Dawn, if you get your answers more when you're in movement, when you're actually, because sometimes that works better for me. It's going for a walk or movement. When I try to go inside and pressure myself for an answer, it doesn't come. But then at another time, just an energy will rush through me and I'll know the answer. But it's almost like it comes when I take my eye off of it.
I have not tried that, but yeah, sounds like a good idea. Worth to give it a shot.
There's a whole chapter on thinking with movement in the extended mind book. And it's, every instinct you ever had that I need to take a walk to get some new creative ideas is all supported by research. Like, it's absolutely true. So yeah, it's true. We need to move. So, and I didn't realize, Dawn, if you were asking that in reference to asking your body a question, if you were, like, even more so with the breath.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I just realized that that's what I do when I for like anything, I walk and I feel better. I have to move my body and then I feel better. Even if I can't make a decision, at least I feel better thinking about the decision.
Yeah, walking is proven. There's a great writer who wrote in the 1920s. I can't remember her book name right now, but anyway, she wrote this wonderful book about writing, and she was such an advocate of walks, just taking walks. And it's always been a huge
If
inspiration.
You Want to Write by Brenda Euland. Yeah.
Exactly. She's cited in curriculum, Brenda Euland. She's so brilliant. Yeah, Absolutely. She would love all this stuff. Well, I'm noticing we're at 9, Michelle. So should we close?
Yeah. Wow. I know I looked up and I thought, oh, wow, that went by very quickly. I want to thank you so much, Sasha, and thank everybody for tuning in and sharing your questions and your own wisdom with everybody else. So thank you, Sasha. Anything you want to say as a closing? I just want to really thank you for doing this tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Like, again, it was a great full circle to feel even more in the Hendricks community. And thank you to everyone for showing up and sharing. And great to put faces, like some of my longtime subscribers I never met. So it's nice. So yeah, thanks for being willing to play.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, and we'll see you next time.